God showed me, hey, this isn't working, but this is. And when one thing isn't working, something else will. And ever since that moment, I have faced rejections. It was just no. Hi everyone and welcome back. My name is Natalie. I miss making these chit-chatty videos, and honestly I've been craving them to really just sit down and talk about some meaningful things. Today I'm going to be talking about my job search story and testimony, what it's been like for me facing rejection in this job market, emotions that have come up, and everything that I've learned in terms of wisdom. I love sharing videos like this, just sharing wisdom and things that I've been through, things that are really meaningful that I know a lot of people can relate to as they've been through it as well. So many people have faced a tough time in this current job market and face a lot of rejections. Whether you're looking for a job or just in life in general, you face a lot of rejections and heard a lot of no's. I'm gonna get into my story and open up about this topic. I have shared it before on my social media. I've shared it on my Instagram, on my TikTok, and it's not something that I am ashamed of or embarrassed about. Honestly, I believe that it can help someone out. And again, many people can relate to it because many people are currently going through it in this job market. I know that I am not the only one. So I'm very happy to be here and talk with you today. I know a lot of you have subscribed to my channel because of these types of videos. So I am back and welcome to my cozy little corner. I have this cute little chair here. So this will be my dedicated space when it comes to these types of videos. I have my notes ready and everything that I'm gonna get into. So let's go ahead and begin. If you're new here, hi, my name is Natalie. I'm 26 years old and I have faced rejections for the past 5 years in this current job market. So we're gonna start off in the beginning, how this all started, how this all began. So I was in college, my junior year of college, and I know a lot of people talk about internships and starting internships and getting experience truly in reality in the field that they're studying. I had never had an internship up until that point, and I heard, again, I've never been in an internship. I've heard that these internships give you credits, which is awesome because it counts as a credit, but also you're getting experience and you're getting out there in the field. So I started my search on my internship, and this is where it all began, me searching for the right company, the right place that I wanted to be in. I searched for social media interns, marketing internships, and I applied to so many places. Honestly, I would probably say like 100 places. Really tried it all, and I remember being discouraged when I was applying to these places. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna land an internship? Like, what's gonna happen? I remember it was such a hard time, and I remember I had applied to such extraordinary places when it comes to my internship run. I remember this one time that I applied to a marketing internship at Apple, and I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, apply, submit, we'll see. And I heard back from the Beats by Dre team. I heard back by their team because they're owned by Apple, but I didn't think that I would hear from Beats by Dre. I thought it was directly with Apple. So I heard back from them. I remember I was so excited for this interview. It was on Zoom. I wore like this nice white sophisticated outfit because it's Apple, it's Beats by Dre. I remember I did my research on the person that I would be speaking with. She was featured in Forbes. And I'm like, I got this. Like, I had such confidence. I'm like, this is a big level company. It was for a summer internship. I envisioned myself being in California because it was an in-person internship. And I just placed myself there. I'm like, I know I have the qualifications. I know I'm good. And I did the interview. I felt confident. There were some answers where I was like, man, like, I wish I had the right perfect answer, but there were some answers where I was purely confident and I knew the answer to. So I did that interview, got rejected, and that I remember like place, like, it sunk me because it's like, wait, I'm perfect, but wait, I have the perfect skills, the perfect qualifications, like, this is something big where I can head to another state and I can stay the summer over there. Like, it would be a great experience. So I just placed myself in this position of I'm gonna get that. Like, I'm gonna be good, and I didn't. And that was my first face at rejection. Kept applying. I applied to so many great places. Like, I applied to a conglomerate that works with other beauty brands, and they're here, headquartered in New York. I applied to internships, in different states, summer internships. Like, I knew what I was doing. I knew that, like, I was in a good position in what I studied to apply to these places and, get a good thing back. But I faced rejection on that run. Then I got accepted to a marketing internship at a skincare beauty brand that is Australian, and they have a headquarters here in New York. That was the first time that I was ever accepted and given a chance, and I was so grateful. It was during the fall of 2021, and that is one of the best experiences that I've ever had in my life. That was a good run, and I just loved it, honestly. And then after that internship, I'm like, okay, let me keep applying to maybe get another internship or get a job. That was another run where it was quite a bit of time where I didn't see anything. I was facing rejections. And then I believe it was the next summer, so this was 2021. The next summer, 2022, I got accepted and I got a job as a social media manager at a local kind of med spa. This is a whole nother story. So I worked there for about 2 months. It was during that summer and I was so excited. I was like, I finally have a job. I finally can make my own money. I've always been very independent. I want to make money for myself. I want to support myself, work towards something and have that pay me so that I can spend my money on, like little things, whatever. So I worked this job as social media manager and I loved it. I took video content, took photo content, and I would travel to the Upper East Side, which is amazing. I love that environment. That was my first ever job, and I would go in. I had a manager. She was the owner of the place, and she micromanaged me so much. When it comes to having a creative job and working in social media, you hire people and you trust them to do their job and to show up and have the knowledge to know that what we should be posting, how we should show up. I know all of that, and I really crafted a vision. Like, I do my work very well. So not having someone to trust me and having someone to control me did not feel good. It felt like, okay, so what did you hire me for? I don't even have the freedom to do my job. And it really escalated over the point where it's like very minor things. She would pay me late. A very toxic environment. She was toxic herself, but also as a boss, she didn't know how to manage me. And she was very young, actually. She was my age that I am now. And I would look at her and be like, wow, you're this young and you're micromanaging. Like, you really don't know how to manage. You own a business, but you don't know how to manage. So I really questioned. I searched for this job. I got this job. Let me stick around for a little bit so I can make my money. I know this is not the good environment to be in. I've never been micromanaged before, but I know that this is not a good feeling. Let me keep working. Let me keep making my money. During that time as well, I still kept applying. And then I got a second job during this time as a receptionist at, it's kind of like this spa. It's very Instagram famous. So I got a job as a receptionist there, and they had opened up a new location. So I was working at a new location. I was so excited. The neighborhood was in Nomad, which is like near the Flatiron district, and I loved it so much. I feel so cool wearing my all black outfit. I would go in there. I did my training, and so I was working both jobs at this time at the same time, and I'm like, oh, I feel so good. I feel so full. I'm in school. Well, maybe not during that time because it was summer, but I was still a student. So I was working 2 jobs at once, and I'm like, I feel so good. I feel so full. I finally have a job that I've been looking for, and I'm making extra money, and now I can have a full schedule, and I have to check out my schedule so that I can work on this job one day and then go to this job the other day. And I'm getting paid at the social media manager job. I was getting paid $15 an hour, and the receptionist job, I believe I was getting paid $16 or $17. So that's that story. And then I knew I was being micromanaged at one job, and it was toxic. And then at this receptionist job, I only lasted a week and a half because they were training me and they were very controlling. They, when you're training, they gave you a pamphlet and they expect things out of you to represent this company, which I totally understand. But it really got to a point where it was very controlling about like what I said, how I showed up, how I stood, how I looked. And they just like mold you. And the people that were training me were people that worked there already. And I remember I was in this training one time. I had arrived there very early. And she was basically telling me like, you have to talk like a white girl. Like when people come in and they sign in, you have to stand up and you have to, hi, welcome in. And when she told me that, you have to speak like a white girl, because I'm from New York. I'm a native New Yorker. I naturally have a New York accent. And so did some other people that were training next to me. And she told us, like, you have to talk like a white girl. You have to talk very like this, high pitched, hi, welcome. And at that moment, I'm like, wait a minute. I understand code switching. That was the first thing I ever learned in college. And I didn't even know that growing up. Naturally, I did it, you know, out of professionalism. But I felt like the atmosphere was very controlling, and it was teaching me to be someone that I am not. And I'm like, okay, red flag, number one. And then, so I had been hired with these group of people. It was me and I believe like 4 other girls. We were training at the same time, maybe different locations. But I remember I was the one that was getting called up on Zoom and scheduled, and we would go over the pamphlet and what the pamphlet said and how you have to answer to these questions and how you have to show up and how you have to be like, I'm telling you, it was very like structured and picture perfect. Like if you do not say this, if you do not fit this mold, if you are not adhering by A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then you're doing it wrong. And I was the only person that they called on Zoom. I don't believe that they called anyone else because everyone else had started their hours. So remember, I'm like on the Zoom and I'm like, well, I think I'm doing good. Like, why do you keep calling me up? And then after that Zoom, they had emailed me and they said, hey, we're cutting your hours, sorry. But if you're looking for employment, then you should go ahead and start looking elsewhere. And I'm like, wait, whoa. I have the app on my phone that tells me when people are scheduled. People already have their schedule, people are already working, but me, I don't have my hours. When am I working? Like, why is all of this happening? So I really was like confused, and I had already had that feeling. It's so weird. And discernment is so important to have. That intuition and that gut feeling that you have. It came up because she had told me, well, if you're seeking employment elsewhere, like, oh, like basically telling me like, you're not fit for this job, start looking for a job somewhere else. And I'm like, okay. One thing about me is that I'm gonna leave before you fire me. So I took that as my sign of like, okay, well, I'm leaving. And so I emailed them, I said, like, I'm leaving this role, I quit. I would have been a great asset to this company because I know myself and I know I'm good and I'm fit for a receptionist job. Because I had that gut feeling that this was not for me at first. And I literally lasted there a week and a half. So when that happened, it kind of was my way and kind of like handed to me to, okay, step away, this is not meant for you. And I took it and I followed it. That was the end of that job. Then on the social media manager job, I worked there a couple of days more, couple of weeks more. And I remember I was on a call while I was at the site of the job on my lunch break. And even on my lunch break, she would call me in, and it's like there was no boundaries. Like I would be on my lunch break and for 2 minutes and she would say, hey, come back in. So I remember during my break, I had called my mom and I had called my sister and I said, I need to leave. Like, I want to quit. I don't want to be here anymore. And she's treating me like this and she's telling me this. Like, she would tell me the most outrageous things and I'm like, oh my gosh, what kind of manager are you? So I remember I called them and I was probably crying or tearing up, and they both said like, leave, you know, quit. This is not a good environment to be in. And I had already had that feeling internally. So I told her like, I quit. This is my last day. I quit. Pay me my last check. And that was it. Like I told her, you have all the photo content, you have all the video content, you have everything you need that I supplied, that I took here, work with it. I'm leaving. This is not the environment that I want to be in. And that was that. It's crazy how I had that intuition firsthand, and I had to follow through with it. I had to, because if not, I was going to be stuck in a toxic environment in both places. So now I had these two jobs at the same time, and then I lost both jobs. I didn't have any jobs. I had quit both, and I was back to square one. And honestly, I hesitated quitting the social media manager job because I knew how difficult and how long of a search it was in the first place to apply and get that job. So I knew I would have to go back into job searching. And I'm like, I had this feeling of like, I know what it's like, and I have to go back out there. And I'm not mentally prepared. I'm not emotionally prepared to do it all over again. But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try again. So during that time, I quit, and I embraced myself to keep looking for a job. At this time, my job basically was just school, and I've always been taught that it's like, focus on your education, you know, you don't really have to work. I'm blessed that I have parents that help me out, but again, I'm very independent and I wanted my own job. And I was like, I'm in my early 20s, you know, people are having their jobs, people are working, making their own money, people have worked in their teenage years, making their own money. Like, I want to do the same for myself. My opinions on that are different, because I do believe like school is your job, but you know, when it comes to money, you want to make your own money, etc. So I braced myself to go back into the job market. And ever since that moment, ever since July or August 2022, I have faced rejections. It is now August 2026. And I can tell you, over the I would say completely, it was 5 years, because I started from my internship days and where I started searching for my internship. But ever since 2022, I have faced rejections. Now we're gonna get into part 2 of this. I have applied so many places. I have applied to so many different industries, so many different jobs. And it was just no. I could go through all my emails and show you the emails that says like, unfortunately, we did not select you for this role. Unfortunately, you were not for this role. Unfortunately. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I hated the feeling of being rejected, because it's like, I'm applying to such great companies. I'm applying to such great roles. I'm applying to roles that I know will fit me based on my background, based on my experience, based on my education and knowledge. Some that I've learned in school, some that I've learned outside of school independently on my own. So I'm like, I know that I'm good for this. Why is this, like, what's going on? And I knew that I was perfect for it, yet it was just rejection after rejection after rejection. I never took the rejections as something personal, because I knew that my qualifications were there. Sometimes in many jobs that I applied for, I'm like, I'm overqualified for this. I am. What you're asking, I hit every single point. And there are jobs where I've applied to where I have gotten an interview. Other jobs where I've just been rejected. Maybe after 5 minutes or overnight, I would get the email and I'm like, why did this happen so fast? Like, what? But yeah, like, I knew that I was perfect for it, and yet I would still get rejected. And just like how I did at my internship, I placed myself in a position of being there, being at that job. So I would say, like, I'm fit for this role. I know I'm perfect. Like, I would look at the job description and say, I'm perfect for this. I'm so perfect. And I envision this is the one. This is gonna be it. This is gonna be the job. I would envision myself commuting there. I would envision myself doing the role, doing all the tasks. I would envision my success at that company. I would envision myself, you know, at the office. I went to an office and work. And to work at this great company, you know, New York City, like, so many opportunities. It's kind of like being imaginative and putting yourself in that place. And I would think, you know, positive about it. I'm like, I'm gonna land this. And then I would be rejected, and I would be like, damn. And that has happened again and again and again and again. And it also doesn't help if I interviewed and I felt good about, okay, I got this. and then I would be rejected. And then there are times where I've gone to in-person interviews. There was this one time where I interviewed at this, well, there's 2 times. I interviewed at this one place that does audio voice recordings for Netflix shows, which is amazing. It's this amazing company. I went into their office. It was a cold winter afternoon. I went in, and the thing about rejection that you learn is intuition, discernment, and this feeling and this knowing. Like, I got to a point where I knew that I wouldn't get the job, and I became numb to it. I remember at first I was really hurt, and I would cry, and I would be like, why is this happening? Why am I getting so many rejections? Like, what's going on? And then people tell me, like, keep trying, and I would keep trying. But I think it got to a point where I became very numb to it. So I went into this interview, and I sat with one of the managers and the CEO of the company. I just remember this look on her face, where she looked me dead in the eye, and she's just like, and at that very moment I knew I would be rejected. And it was an in-person. And it's this face on someone that it's like, no. And that your heart sinks because you're in person and you would expect the best. So I remember she just looked at me, and oh my god, I didn't get it. Okay. I didn't get it. Okay. Another one bites the dust. Okay. So that happened, and then another instance, which was with a fashion company, and they were based in Times Square. I'm like, again, I would envision this life for myself, because it got to a point where it's like, I know I'm facing rejection, but this could be the one, this could be the position, this could be the lifestyle and the place that I could be working at. So I went to 42nd Street, and I interviewed with this company. It was a fashion company, and I spoke with the CEO of the company at his office, and it was a corner office. And if you know, corner offices are huge. It had this view of Times Square. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. And I walked in there confident, again, with my resume in my hand. Outfit looked good, like I looked good, like makeup, I was ready. I spoke with him, and he gave me the same look. He just looked me like dead in my eye. And I read people's faces very well, and I knew at that moment, rejected. So rejection came from all angles. Rejection came in my emails. Rejection came face to face. It got to a point in my rejection journey that I was like, this isn't working. My mental health was really taking a hit. I felt very discouraged. I felt like sadness, and I said, I have to stop. Like, for the sake of my own well-being, I need to stop. So I would take the time to stop applying to jobs, and then that would go on for months. And that made me feel a little bit better, because I had this pressure taken off of me of like, keep looking, keep searching, like keep being hungry for it, like something will happen. And I had been in that position for so long, years at that point, that I was like, let me relax, let me stop. Because the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, yet you get the same result. So I took a break from applying to jobs for months. I was not applying anywhere. During that time, on the other hand, I was pursuing content creation. So during all of this and me applying to jobs, I was doing social media on my own platforms, doing beauty and lifestyle content. I had started back in January of 2023. And simultaneously, during these 2 timelines of me applying to jobs and me facing rejections, I was doing content, and that was taking off and being so successful. Let me tell you, in my first year, I went to a brand event with Clinique. I got gifted from so many beauty and skincare companies, Laneige, Makeup Forever. Ironic enough, my first brand that ever gifted me something, like major brand, was Beats by Dre. Which is ironic, because Beats by Dre had rejected me. Back when I did our internship, remember? They rejected me. Somebody saw my video on TikTok that went viral. I had done kind of like a review on my beats that I had already had in my room. She sent me an email, and she was like, hey, we would love to send you our new Beats Fit Pro. I'm like, huh? Excuse me? I gave her my address. I got the headphones. I'm like, what? This was all within my first year. Beats by Dream, Mason Margiela, Clinique. I had went to some New York Fashion Week events. It was taking off, and I'm like, wow, this is really good. Like, I have a creative spirit. So during that time, you know, I was facing a lot of rejections with jobs, but in the same breath, I was like, let me give myself a chance to pursue content and see where this goes with this. And I was gifted a lot of, you know, products. I made so many videos. I truly enjoyed it. I had creative freedom, creative exercise, and it was taking off. While this one thing wasn't working, this was taking off at the same time. Again, you know, I continued my job search, learned some things along the way, which I'll get into, but also content for me was working out, and I was getting paid from content. So I wasn't getting the job, I was getting rejected, but I was getting paid to make UGC and ad videos for major beauty companies, sold in Sephora, sold in Target, sold in Ulta. I'm like, wait a minute, is this the redirection? They always say rejection is redirection. Well, one thing isn't working, something else will. So I'm like, okay, is this the redirection, God? And this is where I bring God into the story, because God showed me, hey, this isn't working, but this is. Keep putting energy into this, keep applying to this, and it's gonna scale. And it did. I've been doing content for 3 years, and I've had so many good things happen, so much success, so much growth. It has not, you know, been an overnight viral sensation, but I've had videos blown up. I've been in communication with companies. I've been gifted so many products. I've gone to so many wonderful events by different companies. And were they paying me like a job would? Were they paying me like a 9-to-5 would? No, I believe not yet, but at least it was working out. At least it was something in my life that was moving, that was giving, that I actually loved and I was passionate about, and it was working. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stick with this, God. I'm gonna stick with this. Yeah, I think now where I'm at, I still to this day get rejected. You know, here and there I'll apply, but I'm like, it's still rejection. I still have not landed a corporate 9-to-5 job, but yet my content works. Yet my content still gives. Yet I have people that watch my content. Yet I have companies that watch my content. Sometimes I'm like, what? Like, how do you see my videos? Like, how? It's a prime example of you never know who's watching you, because you would never think, or I would never think, that this company or this person was looking for me. And it's a beautiful thing to see how content has given me something in my life. And, you know, being an influencer, it's very ironic, because I think back to what I actually wanted to do with my life originally when I was very young, and it was always kind of like me working for myself, me being the moment, me being like the pivotal piece of my own career. You know, I had this desire to be in the office and work a 9-to-5, work a corporate schedule, at least for a little bit, because I feel like that gives you a little bit of structure, stability, but it wasn't working. It was not working. I want to bring God into the story. So God showed me the redirection. He showed me the rejection, he showed me the redirection. But God also spoke to me, and he told me a lot about the job market and its flaws, and how many people are also going through this. You know, I thought I was the only one going through this. I'm like, I'm facing so many rejections. Then I would get on TikTok and people are like, this job market is horrible. I'm facing so many rejections. I have applied to like 100+ jobs and I haven't gotten one. And I'm like, wait, so this isn't a me thing. This is something that's happening with a lot of people right now. I would do my research, I would watch the news, and they would be like, oh, the current job market right now is decreasing and not a lot of people are getting jobs for XYZ reason. And I'm like, wow, it really is not just me. So many people are going through this, yet it just kind of teaches you, like, something isn't working. And it could be the job market, but it also could be your own story and your own testimony, which is what I'm talking about right now. I've always had this belief that if something isn't working, or if nobody's giving you the opportunity, create the opportunity yourself. And I've created opportunities for myself. I have. I think I would be in a worse place if I kept waiting for the opportunity. Like, give me an opportunity, give me an opportunity. I don't think I would be doing what I am today if I didn't give myself the opportunity. If I didn't exercise, okay, well, this isn't working, let me do something in the meantime. And I do think that I have that entrepreneurial spirit within me, that creative spirit to make something happen. Again, I think that's one path that you don't see immediate results, but it's results of you trying and keep going, and you'll see how this will pay off. God just shows you rejection to prove to you something is not working for a reason. Like, trust me, trust my plan for you, trust that I have something else for you, something better than what you were expecting. You know, maybe I wanted a office job, a 9-to-5 job, something to give me structure, stability, and I really wanted to work at this amazing company, but yet maybe that's not even the plan that God had for me at all at first. Maybe He has something else for me. And I really have to trust His plan. It might look scary, it might look very different, it might look very untraditional, but it might be something that works. I believe that God speaks and God sends you messages, because in this rejection, I took note of what was working and what wasn't working. I would get these messages of people being like, you are the job. You are the job. God set you out. God is not telling you to work a 9-to-5 job. He set you apart. I would resonate with that so much. It would like speak to my soul, and I would be like, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense what's not working. It makes sense why things didn't happen. Show me, you know, what I am meant to do with my life. What is my job? You know, how am I going to make money? How am I going to sustain myself in this world, in this time? And I think faith and hope and praying plays a big role into it, and asking Him, like, tell me what your redirection is for me. Tell me what your plan is for me if something isn't working. I would tell you that if you're facing a lot of rejections in the job market right now, keep trying. Keep applying yourself. Keep putting yourself out there. You know, sometimes it might be a case of like, you're one application away from getting accepted. That could be the reason. And then you get accepted and you're like, finally I have a job, finally, after so much time. But I would also tell you, you know, be open to the possibility of like, maybe a corporate job is just not meant for you. Maybe you're meant to do something untraditional. Maybe you're meant to carve your own career, carve your own path. We'll see how it'll end up. Maybe content will be the thing for me, and this will skyrocket and this will be my job. Maybe God has a plan for me to start something else. I don't know. I don't know what God's plan for me is when it comes to this rejection. I have shared the redirection and where content is for me, but I don't know. I don't think I'm at the end of that point yet to tell you that this is what it actually was. This is what He had for me. And I would love to have you here to just come back when that does happen, because I believe something will happen in the future where it's like, this was it. This was the whole time. This was it. This is why I faced so many years of rejection. I faced 5 years of job rejections in the job market, in this difficult job market of 2020s. This is why it happened. So I encourage you to keep going, to keep trying, and if it's not working, try something else. Maybe try something of your own. In the meantime, you know, I wasn't getting experience from jobs, right? I never really got accepted and got experience for social media and marketing. But I gave myself the opportunity maybe to work with people in my, you know, neighborhood, in my environment, family members who had businesses, where I would help them out with their social media posts. I would pitch companies and say, hey, let me do your social media for you. Hey, let's hop on a Zoom. I've started kind of like my agency and freelancing to help other business owners and founders with their companies, and it worked. Like, I would get on calls and they would be like, hey, I'm looking for you to help me with my social media, and it would work. Would the things follow through and would I get money from it? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but at least I gave myself an opportunity. I tried. That is something that I pat myself on the back with, because if I did nothing. I would have no experience. I would learn nothing. I would have nothing on my resume. All that experience that I worked for myself and that I sought out was because I put myself in the position to look for it, and the position to, hey, I want to get experience, help me out here. And that's the thing that I would put on my resume. So, and for a reason. And this is my testimony and my story that I open up and I share about. I bet on myself and it has worked out for me. It maybe has not been the perfect look for everyone. It'll be like, well, you don't make money. Well, what kind of job is that? But I do believe that God is behind all of this. God is orchestrating something. God is maybe orchestrating something in your own life, in your own rejection story, in your own job search, whatever that may be. I hope and I pray that you get the answers one day. Know that none of this is your fault. Don't make people try to place the blame on you. It is an external thing that's happening to so many people right now. I pray that it gets better for me and for you. It's a story that I'm not embarrassed to share, that I'm not ashamed to share. Nobody could ever guilt me into saying, well, that sucks, like that's embarrassing, like why would you talk about that? It's my life, it's my story, it's my testimony, and God is at the center of it. Continue to talk about, because it's something that I went through, I learned from. It was something that was very painful for me, but on the other side of it, I could help someone else have hope, keep going, maybe think differently, bet on themselves. Most importantly, like maybe you're watching this video and you didn't even think like, oh, maybe I should give myself the opportunity, maybe I should gain some kind of experience in my own crafty way. Maybe you didn't think about that. Maybe that will plant a seed in you. So that's what this whole purpose is for me, and I'm not ashamed to share this story. And consider yourself blessed, honestly, if you haven't been through this job market. I think about this a lot. I think about people who do get jobs like this, and I would look at those people sometimes and be like, dang, like I wish that was me. Why couldn't it be so easy? Sometimes people would leave their jobs or quit, and then 2 months later they get a new job, and I'm like, how? Like, how is that so easy for you? But I do believe that everyone has their own plan, their own path in life, and it's like mine is completely different. Doesn't mean that you're better than me. Doesn't mean that I'm better than you. It's just my story to tell, and nobody could ever shame me in my story, in my own life. How dare you say like, oh, this isn't working out for you because you're not applying yourself enough, because you're not trying hard enough. You haven't spent a day in my shoes, and you haven't tried as much as I do. You haven't really seen or felt the pain that I have. And also, you're not my age in this job market. Like, that's tough itself. So I take people's commentary with a grain of salt, but ultimately I know that my story is very important to tell, and I'm not ashamed to tell it. So that's the end of my job search story, of my testimony. It has been 5 years. I will come back to this video and I will tell you what has happened, what actually was my plan that God had for me, and believe that rejection is redirection. Sometimes it's hard for me to believe, sometimes it's painful for me to be like, oh, what is the redirection? What is a plan for me? All in due time, things will be revealed. Thank you guys so much. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and tell me about your job search story. Tell me about your testimony, your rejection, where you ended up at, how you bet on yourself. I want to hear about all of it. And make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. I would love to be back in this chair talking about more things. So I will see you in the next one. I love you so much.